Hello and welcome back to the ROKER Report Extra Podcast. It's been a little while since we've had an extra podcast with a fan. The Plymouth one got canned because of sound quality. The same did for Port Vale. I don't think we're doing very well here, but hopefully we do as well as our team's doing at the moment. 7 wins on the bounce, although some of them have been in the Checkatrade Trophy, which I'm still not sure if I massively count. We are recording before the Morecambe game, so it might be 8, I don't know. But at time of speaking, it's 7 in a row. And it's back to league duty on Saturday. We're back to the Stadium of Light. And we're playing Wycombe. And we've got Max from the Wycombe Wanderers Podcast. How are you doing, Max? Are you well?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Cool. How's your season been?
I'll tell you what, I think it's going better than expected. Well, than a lot of us Wycombe fans expected. We thought if we're out of the relegation zone at this point, just before Christmas, then we'll be quite happy. And sitting up in 15th position right now, would say it's going quite well.
And you started quite poorly, though, didn't you? It took you a while to get the first win.
It did. And it was a worry at the start when it took, I can't remember how many games it took, probably 3 or 4 maybe. Well, we've had quite a lot of draws along the way, a lot of 0-0 and 1-0 draws. Started off the season with a 0-0 draw against Blackpool. And I think it is, although it's getting underway now, we're on 21 points from 17 games, which we'll take. But I think, although we are, sitting in 15th, we feel there's been a lot of games where we've drawn 6 games this season where we could have got that goal. Some that spring to mind, we had Oxford, local rivals at home, and also finished 0-0 that game. And we really could have, if we'd actually scored some goals for once, because we do struggle with scoring goals. As I said, we've had a lot of 0-0 draws and a lot of, win-0 losses. If we could have just got a few more goals in there, then, we could have had a lot more points, and turned some of those draws into wins.
And it's strange you should say that, because I admittedly look at the last sort of 5 most recent games, and it looked like you scored quite a few in the last couple of games. Is that kind of a recent thing? Have you rediscovered the scoring touch?
It has got better, and it's mainly, I've been on a couple of radio shows with some local media around the area, and the main reason why we started getting the goals in now is mainly because of our big lad up front, Akinfenwa. Now, at the start of the season, it took him. He went on a really long scoring drought, and it's just started to pay off now. And I think he was nominated for Player of the Month. I don't know if I don't know who actually won it. I don't know if it was. I think it was for October, but he didn't win it. I don't think, or he was just a nominee. But he started getting the goals, and also started with the assists as well. So I think he's been a massive influence on the goals we've started to score these days.
And what is it with Akinfenwa? Because the thing is, it's someone that every Sunderland fan knows, and there's not a great deal of strikers in League One and League Two that have his sort of celebrity status just because he's absolutely huge. But if you're a fan of a team that he plays for, everyone seems to be quite happy with him. What is it about Akinfenwa as a player as opposed to the celebrity that he's kind of become? What does he bring to a team?
So the main thing he brings, obviously, with his physical presence, he can hold the ball up quite well. He can distribute it quite well. And a lot of players will struggle. Well, a lot of defenders will struggle to, battle against him in the air. So that's why a lot of his goals do come from headers or picking it out from the air and volleying it in. And also he's picked up 6 assists this season already, and 5 goals in the league as well. So I think the physical presence of him obviously does help when he's coming up against someone that is most likely going to be a lot smaller than him in size. A lot of them, I wouldn't say they shy away, but obviously if I was going up against him, I'd be a bit hesitant as well.
Yeah, he's huge. He's absolutely enormous. When you look at the size of him, because the first players we've thought about from Wycombe's perspective is obviously Akinfenwa, and we're looking at our defence, and obviously I think Tom Flanagan, he's a great player. I really like Tom Flanagan, and we really like him, but he's very skinny, and it's kind of almost luck that he's away with Northern Ireland this week, and I think we'll probably see Glenn Louvens come back in, who's not the fastest, but he's certainly got. I'd like to think he's got the ability to battle with Akinfenwa, but there's not many people that can sort of shake him off the ball. I mean, does he play up front on his own, or does he play in a two?
Recently, we've been playing a 4-4-2 as early in the season. Like I said, it wasn't the best of starts. We were playing a 4-3-3 with the one single striker and then the two wingers either side. But he now plays up front. You might see either Craig McHale-Smith or newly signed player Alex Samuel, who was at Stevenage last year. He's been getting some game time, and what they both provide is they're completely different to Akinfenwa. They both are players which will just constantly charge after the ball. Neither of them have, we're practically a League Two side. They don't have much technical ability about them. But they will run for 90 minutes on end, and they will hoof the ball up. Well, they'll pass the ball up to Akinfenwa, and they can run onto it when they pass it back to them.
It's quite a mix of experience and youth when you look through the team as well. I mean, there is names in there that I do recognise, and as I was saying before, and it's absolutely no disrespect to like Wycombe and teams in League One. We've dropped pretty fast. You gradually try to get used to which players are the danger men in the leagues and stuff like that. And I mean, when you look at sort of Wycombe's team, there is a lot of like younger lads that I've noticed from Southampton. You've got the likes of like Jason McCarthy and Dominic Gape. But then you've also got the experience of obviously Akinfenwa. You've got Mikhail Smith. You've got Matt Bloomfields in there as well. So there's a lot of experience. Is that kind of the makeup of your team? You have like the old heads bringing in the young boys, sort of coming into league football essentially.
It does seem to be that way. It's been that way for the last couple of years. The same players have seemed to stay. And I know Ainsworth does like to sign. Being an ex-footballer himself, he's only practically just retired, and he does like to bring in his experienced players. For example, bringing in Mikhail Smith, Sam Saunders, players which helped Wycombe get promoted last season. And we all thought this season, being mid-30s, can they do it another year in a high division? And the answer most of us was probably not, which is why there was a sigh of relief when we did loan sign some players, Bryn Morris from Shrewsbury, Fred Onyedinma from Millwall, who have both, they've been standout players in the team. And I think with a combination, like you say, of the younger players getting experience from these older players, it's been quite beneficial to us.
And you mentioned Gareth Ainsworth there. And again, it's another person who I remember as a player. I mean, I'm 32, so I remember Gareth Ainsworth very well as a player, QPR, for example. But he seems like a really likeable fellow, and he's been there quite a while, and it's not often you see your manager be at a club for, 6 years now, and obviously he's doing well. He got you promoted last year, but he seems like a really likeable fellow as well. And I mean, if you add in Akinfenwa to that as well, it seems like you have a team full of characters at the same time. Am I assuming this correctly? Are you big fans of Ainsworth, or has there been points when he's almost kind of, should we say, has there been times when he could have been getting close to getting sacked, or has he always been quite smooth in these 6 years? Because he seems like a well-liked fella.
I'd say everyone at the club, really warmed to Gareth Ainsworth, mainly for his commitment, because there was a lot of rumours of him in the summer potentially leaving, filling at the time, what was the vacant QPR job. And also he was linked with, I believe it was Barnsley as well. I might be misquoting that, but he's really like player and manager at the club. And it's mainly because I sometimes think it's partly to do with the because I don't know if you know, but Wycombe, I think us and Exeter, I don't know if it's Exeter anymore, but we may be the only fan-owned club in all of the football leagues, because basically a few years ago we had owners, but it sort of went downhill very fast, and the fans council of Wycombe bought the club, so which is why we don't have much income for the club, and why we don't have much of a budget. But it's I think it's the only fan-owned club in the league, and sort of because it's like most football clubs, it's it's the fans' club, but it really is with Wycombe, and the fact that they have a 500 club who donate to Wycombe and basically keep them running. And I believe that the fans do get behind him, not just because we're a fan-owned club, but because he's stuck through it, and he's been at Wycombe so long as well. And he's a lovely player and manager on and off the pitch.
I didn't actually know that about Wycombe, that you were fan owned. That really does show my my ignorance. But I mean, we ourselves have noticed a difference with our change in chairman, but we still have a guy who's a millionaire who owns the club essentially. And we've been lucky enough to have him on the podcast and stuff like that recently with Connor. I'm saying recently, he's been on quite a bit already, like 5 times with us, and he really is bringing that community element back to Sunderland as best as he can. I mean, obviously people listening will know what we've done, like changing the seats and stuff like that, but just for the purpose of, you know, where I'm coming from with what I'm about to ask. But before you were fan owned, then how was the club before you were fan owned, and how does it change for you? What differences have you found as a Wycombe fan from moving from like an ownership to fan ownership, and do you prefer it?
Well, so I can't remember the exact year Wycombe were bought, but it was I think it was about 10 years ago now. In the period of when we were owned by a private owner, we had a relegation there and nearly dropped down to the Vanarama National League, and it was very worrying times. And I think there was also a hint that Wycombe may be going into administration as well, because the owners as well, they didn't have much income to bring into the club.
Yeah,
and I think it was a lifesaver really that the Fans Council bought out Wycombe and managed to save them practically. I mean, I'm only 18 years old, so my recollection of it, because I've been going to games since I was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah,
but I was their early era, and we weren't anywhere near the team we've sort of grown to be now.
So essentially, almost your entire sporting life, you've supported a fan-owned club. Mm-hmm. There mustn't be many fans that have that, really. I mean, I'm only 32, which it's not a great jump, but at least that's what I'm telling myself, from 18. But when it comes to the ownership that I've known, I've obviously known Bob Murray, the Devil, that is Ellis Short, and now we have obviously Stuart Donald. And there is something to be said about that community element, isn't there? Like it's changed our club this season, and there really is something to be said about that. Because we've noticed recently with Stuart Donald, we've had a lot more community-based stuff. The players go out into the community, we have a lot more access to the club as a whole. Do you get that as well, or does it still remain quite guarded, or is that kind of part and parcel of Wycombe these days?
I say, being a fan-owned club, we still have that community atmosphere. You'll often, because we don't get too many numbers to games, you do see the same fans. You'll meet up with the same fans, just like any old club. You know all the chants, and the same fans will be there every week, and it sort of does feel like a big family gathering. We have our terrace. It's not the home fixture this time, but when you come down and visit, if you do, you got the terrace where all the sort of the diehard Wycombe fans who have been there for however many years normally are, and those are the people which have been there probably all their lives, supporting the club. And it does, I feel that the fans and the players as well, where they park their cars. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to compare this to any other club, because I'm not sure about their parking, whatever. But the players park in the same places a lot of the fans will park. So if you get early enough on a match day, you'll see the players pull up, and you can easily just harass them by their cars, get a photo, have a little chat with them, which I've done in the past a couple of times to say hello to the players, and they are all nice people. And in fact, that brings me to last game of last season. Our star player Luke O'Nien, who is now of course with you, he was driving he probably upgraded now on his, I don't know what he's on for his but he was he's driving a nice little Ford Focus. And I was with my other podcaster Rory, went to the final game of the season, the promotion party it was, and he pulls up and we have a good 10-minute chat with him, and he's the cheeriest guy. I hope he's been able to bring that to you as well, but he's such a nice guy, and a brilliant player on the field as well.
He really has. Just for, obviously, again, people listening will know this, but Luke O'Nien he got the train after the Plymouth game, because I think he was going to visit family, and he got on the train with all the fans down back to see his family. I think there was some fans going back towards like London, so he got the train with them. But Luke O'Nien's quite a funny one. I'll be completely honest, I wasn't 100% convinced on him when he first came. He looked a little bit rabbit in the headlights. He kind of ran about a lot, and that was sort of it. But since, I would say, over the past sort of 5-6 games, he's been coming on as a sub, and since he scored against Shrewsbury, a game which I was at, and as he came on, I actually went, oh, not him, he's shite. And he scored within like 2 minutes. He's, I've got to be honest, he's really improved, but his personality is definitely something people have bought into. I don't know whether you saw it, but I was talking before about us changing the seats at the stadium, and it's been the fans that have changed the seats, because we've had these red seats for ages, to the point where the sun has dyed them like pink. It needed redoing, and it was kind of a comedy thing after a while, and we ended up changing it, and Stuart Donald got the fans in to change it, and some of the players came along as well. And there's this guy, as Luke 09 was changing the seat, this guy said to him, "You should sign that just in case you make it one day." And his face, he just took it so well, but it's brilliant. You can see that on Twitter, and I'm sure everyone listening knows this anyway. But Luke 09 did really, really well for you guys. I remember watching the highlights when we got him, and we actually had really high expectations for Luke 09. He totally seemed like the kind of Sunderland player that, someone would run themselves into the ground, get themselves into scoring positions. And yeah, it hasn't gone perfectly. He's not in the team at the moment, but you definitely feel he's starting to settle down and get in the team. But how much of a loss was he to Wycombe, and who have you replaced him with?
Well, we're currently replaced him with Bryn Morris from Shrewsbury, who's currently on loan until January. We've also got a lot of older centre mids like Marcus Bean, Sam Saunders, Matt Bloomfield, and I think they're sort of, we need to, I don't know, it's a bit worrying, because you need a good centre midfield, and it's a little bit worrying that we're going to lose Bryn Morris in January. I don't think Shrewsbury is going to let us have him again on loan, as they wouldn't allow him to play in the FA Cup the other week, and I think we're going to need to sign someone. Probably get maybe either a free transfer or maybe another loan signing in January. But a lot of Wycombe fans would really love Luke 09 back, because he was such an influential figure last year that, if there's any possibility of having him back on loan or whatever, we wouldn't pass up the opportunity at all.
I would have said potentially, maybe sort of 5-6 weeks ago, but since he scored that goal against Shrewsbury, really, he's been quite unlucky not to be getting a start in the past few games, to be honest. Like the FA Cup game down at Port Vale, I thought he might have played, but when he first came, he did seem to run about an awful lot, and he definitely has tons of energy, like bags of it. But he seems really pleased to be here, and when he scored against Shrewsbury, he was absolutely chuffed. And I think there may be an opportunity. I think he'll play tonight against Morecambe. I'd be surprised if he doesn't, but he's edging towards that first team spot. I think he's been quite unlucky that we've had Chris Maguire's been absolutely dynamite all season, and then you've got Lyndon Gooch, who's obviously an American international, and I think at the very least a mid-table championship player. And then you've also got players like McGeady and stuff who play in that position, but he's fighting to get into the team, and he's coming on as a sub with 20 minutes to go and giving us that extra bit of energy and goal threat. But going back to his personality, I mean, from him coming from Wycombe, obviously, and the situation and the way the players are with the fans, as you mentioned before, I think it really has resonated with us as well. We can see a person when they're an actual person and a human being who wants to be here. So I think we really want to see him do well. I think of all the signings, apart from maybe Chris Maguire, for some reason, everyone sort of took a liking to Luke 09, even if he's not really getting in the team. But I've also just noticed as well, though, I think Luke 09 was one of the first, or the first player we ever signed from Wycombe, or was exchanged between the teams. And I could be wrong with this. I've searched and searched and searched to see if we've played Wycombe before. I don't think we've ever played you before. I think this is the first meeting we've ever had.
I wouldn't be surprised, because obviously you've been in the Premier League the last however many years, and obviously Wycombe have always been a low table side, and I think I'm looking forward to this clash. I mean, if you wanted my prediction, I'm not too sure how bright it's going to be for Wycombe. But saying that, we haven't. If you look at the teams on paper, obviously you've got, like you said just then, a lot of players which could be playing in a higher division and probably should be, and even have been in the past. Like Aidan McGeady, proven Premier League player with Everton, and I do think, although Sunderland have got the technical ability, undeniably. I think I don't know what it is about Wycombe. It may just be Akinfenwa and his physical presence. Some of the sort of no fear attitude that Wycombe have sort of been playing with this season, and it's sort of shown with the 2 wins. Well, the win and the draw that we picked up. We picked up a win against Peterborough. Are they top at the moment, or are they third? Or
Peterborough's dropped. They've gone down to third now. It's Portsmouth at the top. I think when you played them, they were second. But I think you beating them and us winning actually helped us go into second with the game in hand on them as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah. And then we also picked up a point, I think it was late September, against away at Portsmouth as well. So we've been able to pull it out against the big teams. I'd love to if we could get anything out of Sunderland away, I tell you, we'd be very pleased.
And are you going to the game on Saturday?
I wish. I mean, me and Rory, like I mentioned, we really wish we could go. But I'm currently a university student down in Portsmouth myself, so I couldn't be any further away from it.
It's quite a trek.
It's a trek, but we really wish we could have gone. But no, I don't think we'll be able to make it, unfortunately. But,
are you bringing many fans up?
We are. We sold 450 tickets so far. I'm hoping that number is going to rise, and 450 for us away is not a bad number to start, especially the length of travel. It's going to be a long old drive for many fans. If the number can get up to 600, 650 would be, which is quite good away for a team like ourselves.
Yeah, and it's I think I've said this a few times on the podcast, but it's nice to have and it's not to say the Premiership doesn't have real fans. You support the team you brought up with, but you really have to support your team when you're in League One or League Two and those sort of divisions. You don't really get the option to kind of just support them because they're glamorous. That everyone you meet is there because they just love their club and they don't have a choice. And it's been really lovely to have fans up who seem to really appreciate being at a stadium that maybe you don't see in League One, and everyone's been quite gracious. Take aside Plymouth, I'm going to take Plymouth out of that equation, who are very ungracious, and now easy 2-0 win last week, but of 2 weeks ago. But I have heard that Plymouth, or at least their admin of Twitter, has a knack of being a bit unprofessional, shall we say. But that's kind of the beauty of League One, isn't it? It's not kind of polished and shined like the Premier League, where everything's official and all that. You can actually post the occasional meme and the occasional GIF. You love a little bit of that,
I did see that from something. I did laugh. The stats,
yeah. Oscar's been on fire this year, and I think that's been, just to go back again, that's the change. I think when you get rid of what is essentially an owner that really doesn't care, and you have someone who believes in community, which obviously you'll understand from a slightly different perspective, and I think that's very much the difference that we've had this season as well. But we talked about obviously the game on Saturday. You're bringing up what is a good amount of fans for Wycombe as well. What is the feeling within the Wycombe fan base? Do you feel like you can get something, or is it? And again, and I don't want to sound arrogant in any way, but we've won 7 on the bounce. We're looking pretty formidable. We've got a game in hand on Portsmouth, and we're second off top, and we're only 3 points behind. Wycombe have been doing well, but you've lost your last 2. Are you expecting anything? Do you think you can upset the apple cart?
See, I'm not sure. Well, obviously, as fans, we're not expecting anything out of the game. It's not a game where we'd go into it thinking we're going to win. Yeah. But it's the first time for many Wycombe fans that we're actually going to a big stadium since we went to I think it was Wembley Stadium or White Hart Lane. And I think it was Wembley Stadium. Or was it White Hart Lane? I can't remember. Tottenham's ground 2 seasons ago. I can't remember if they were in Wembley or not at the time. But we played them away in the FA Cup. I think that's the last big stadium that we've been to, and Stadium of Light, which is it's a fantastic stadium. It'll be a good atmosphere for Wycombe fans. As we're not used to. We're used to seeing the likes of Accrington Stanley away. That's the sort of level.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I don't know. It would be really nice to get a point out of the game, but that might just be wishful thinking. I'm not too sure.
Hey, at the same time, there is again, like I say, we've won 7 in a row, and we've kept a few clean sheets. But I think at the same time, there's going to be someone that stops that run, and I think we're a little bit fearsome of Akinfenwa, which I don't know if everyone will agree with, but I am. We kind of know what he can bring, and we know that the guys we have at the back, obviously Glenn Louvens hasn't played for weeks. We know Flanagan's not going to play. And Jack Baldwin, I really, really, really like Jack Baldwin, but he has this ability to just occasionally make a mistake. And I know someone disagreed with me on that the other week, but there's a few times when he's made just a bit of an error, like Rochdale at home and stuff like that, when he's just been knocked off the ball. But hopefully he's on his game. I will ask you for a prediction at one point, but just before I do, I always find it quite curious what teams from League One have thought of us since we've come down. If there's any particular players you've noticed that seem to stand out that you fear. Obviously, Akinfenwa was the one that we are worried about. There's no doubt about that. But which players are you finding that you're not really looking to go up against, or you think could cause you damage?
See, I'm not sure if he's been getting into the team too much recently or not, but your young striker, Joshua Meyer, I'm not sure if that's his name or not, but I think he played a couple of games either. I can't remember if it was the last season or the start of this season, but he looks quite threatening. He seems quite fast, and we haven't got the paciest team around. Any quick players can run around our aging defence. We haven't got the best defence at all, which normally does let us down. So I think players, if is Lyndon Gooch on international duty, or is he playing?
No, he didn't. Well, we don't know. He didn't get picked originally, but I know that one of the wingers from the American side has pulled out with injury, so he might get called up. But as it stands, yes, he will be playing. Yeah.
So him, Aidan McGeady, he's a class dribbler. So I'm a bit worried for our defence. So I do fear that on one hand it could be a big scoreline. Not in our favour, but I do think is Joshua Meyer likely to play, or Maguire?
I think Madja will play. Yeah, I do think he'll play. I think he'll probably flank him with Maguire and either McGeady or Gooch, depending on who is fit, with Honeyman just behind, as in like a number 10 role. But Madja hasn't scored too many recently, but he's still got about 9 goals this season already, so he's doing all right. But it might be Sinclair. It's kind of a different player per week, but I think he'll play on Saturday. Yeah,
that's see. So you've got a lot of talented players that have actually got a lot of technical ability, and I think that's that's the reason why you are where you are in the season and in the table, because you've got a lot of players which are technically gifted. Whereas, us as Wycombe, we rely quite a lot on the individual aspects which, players can bring, such as Akinfenwa being, probably the strongest player in the league. And also the fact that we haven't got too much to play for us. We've gone up the division, and we're basically just giving it our best shot and, aim high and see where it gets us.
Yeah. And I know you're on a bit of a time scale. Obviously, you've been a uni student and all that. I get that. Actually, I never went to uni, as you can probably tell. That's why I'm sat in my bedroom in my wife's onesie doing an early morning podcast. But there you go. What would be your prediction for Saturday?
I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I'm going to put it out there. I'm not sure where the 2 goals are coming for Wycombe.
Akinfenwa.
I'd say if I give you a player to look out for Wycombe,
I'd say go for it.
Fred Onyedinma. I think he's a superb player. He's our winger. He's on loan from Millwall, and I think he played Championship. I think he might have played in the Championship early this year. In fact, a couple of games for Millwall before being loaned out to us. But I think he's so calm on the ball, dribbling past players. I think he's certainly one to look out for. Randell Williams, if he plays as well, also a player which is a dribbler. He's really good. He can finish as well. So those 2 players, if anyone's going to score, bar from Akinfenwa, I'd say Randell Williams or Fred Onyedinma.
Well, our clean sheet record did go on Sunday against Port Vale. So you never know. But you know what? I'm going to take a 1-0 win. It's been a while since we've beaten teams right to death, and I'm going to say you're going to frustrate us. I'm going to say you're going to cause us a few problems, miss a few chances, and then we're going to bring on Luke O'Nien. Last 10. I'm going to say Luke O'Nien gets us the 1-0 win. I don't really think that'll happen, but it would be interesting to see. But thanks for coming on, Max. I really appreciate you get up early this morning. It's been a while since I've done a morning podcast, which is probably why I sound like a little bit more depressed than usual. I'm really happy at people who've been commenting recently. I'm happy this season, a lot better than I was last year. But thanks for coming on. Don't enjoy your Saturday, but I hope you have a good rest of the season, apart from when we play you. Aside from that, mate, enjoy uni and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Max. No problem. So, the end of the Wycombe podcast. Yes, it is an early morning podcast, just on Tuesday. I'm recording today, so before the Morecambe game. I had to get up early to do it, but like the past few weeks, we just had so many issues trying to record podcasts with other fans and the audio not being perfect. And that's the difference between me and the likes of Connor. He gets a studio these days, Mr. Popular. I love you, really, Connor. He gets a studio. I don't. I get my spare room and my little podcast mic. But I hope you enjoyed it coming back. I'm really pleased with the reaction to the Lorik Sauna podcast as well, which I managed to fit in between. I think the podcast I've really enjoyed listening to as well as a fan, aside from the fact that I write for ROKER Report, the Bob Murray ones, the Monday ones that Connor have been doing as well. I think I've really enjoyed listening to the content myself, and I'm pleased I was able to contribute to that with the Lorik Sauna podcast. And again today with Max, it's nice to have the extra podcast back. Thanks for tuning into this one. There's no special guest with this one aside from myself and Max. So if you're listening to this, thanks very much for the dedication to listen to the extra podcast. I'm missing on Saturday, unfortunately. I'm actually in Poland. I'm not actually at a game until Walsall, the one in the league, that is, because obviously we drew against them in the cup and we got Walsall 2 weeks in a row. So why not have a week down in Walsall? I'll leave you with that. Think about, this is what League One is. It's a full week in Walsall. It's kind of good, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.